Next is Matt Singer, again, of Forward Montana.
Howdy. My name is Matt Singer. I'm CEO of a group called Forward Montana. We're part of an emerging network of groups called the Grassroots Organizing Network, the GO Network for short. We've got sister organizations all over the country. I think they're all listed on the back of that youth vote thing that was in the packet. So take a look at that. We've got groups. There's 8 of us around the country now. We're all part of what what Mike refers to as, and probably others, as the .org boom of the 2000s, which was basically the emergence of all these young people's organizations that I see as largely a response to some issues that were arising in the old progressive youth movement. So we're actually talking about the new progressive youth movement here today, which I think is correcting some mistakes of the past. And I wanted to spend some time talking about those. The first thing, if you haven't had a chance, I'd recommend reading Thomas Frank's book, The Conquest of Cool. One of the big stories in it is basically about how back in the early 1960s and the 1950s, marketers were people who wore gray flannel suits, and they produced really, really boring ads. You shoot forward 50 years, and we've somehow managed to make politics boring, and we've got guerrilla marketers for Cartoon Network getting arrested for bomb threats. Something changed between the 1960s and today, and it's time to reverse that trend. I'm not saying that you guys should go out and make bomb threats, but clearly at some point we lost the cool factor when it comes to politics. It's something that we think about constantly. I think the other organizations up here think about it constantly. How do we make politics interesting and relevant to people's lives? And that often involves not wearing a gray flannel suit. One of the things that we do, this is our palm card. It's a 4x4 card. We give it out at parties. It looks like a concert flyer. So people just slip it in their pocket. The next day they find it in their jeans, wonder, oh, these must be the people who threw that party I was at last night. That was a fun party. These must be cool people. And then we follow up with them. We've launched a t-shirt that I'm wearing right now. It's another attempt to sort of break into culture with a political message. It's what we call our God, Guns, and Gays Love 'Em All t-shirt. We're from Montana. People like guns. People love God. And we're saying that the Constitution covers everybody, and we wanted to spread that message around. We're also making some money off of it. It doesn't hurt the bottom line. If you want to buy one, forwardmontana.org. They're great shirts, American-made, all that sort of stuff. So we've got to figure out how to be cool again. The second thing that I think was a mistake of old youth organizing was that there was, and this wasn't just youth organizing, this was a lot of the progressive movement 30 years ago, was a de-emphasis of electoral politics, as though you could pass progressive policy without electing progressive politicians. That notion today, I think to most of us in this room, seems as backwards as it must have seemed right 30 years ago, but coming of age when I did, it's inconceivable to me that with Tom DeLay as the majority leader in the U.S. House, that we'd ever be able to get a progressive set of policy through. That wasn't the mindset 30 years ago. We're changing it today. The third thing, and Ivan already talked about this a little bit, we had to break out of issue silos. And that's one of the things that you'll notice about all the organizations up here. We're broad-based when it comes to progressivism. We're not environmental organizations. We're not just economic justice organizations. We're not anti-war organizations. We're progressive organizations. Our mission statement just says progressive. It doesn't say, oh, well, we work on these 3 issue areas. If it's progressive, we're empowered to work on it. We don't have to go back to our board for permission. It's really useful when stuff comes up and we need to work on it in a hurry. And the fourth thing is, and this probably comes as a result of the people who run organizations tend to come out of college, and a generation ago they tended to think of college as their activism time. But we made a mistake, and we ran organizations in a way where we pretended that the youth vote and the youth to be organized were college youth, and specifically even traditional college students. So we forgot about non-traditional students, we forgot about young parents, we forgot about high school students, and we forgot about non-college bound youth. Huge mistake. Very, very few young people actually go to a 4-year college and go straight through for 4 years, go right after high school. That's a tiny portion of the population, and we need to be thinking beyond it if we're going to be reaching all the young leaders we need to. All that said, there's probably other stuff that we need to change, stuff that we're doing now that we need to change, but that's sort of the 4 big critiques I'd lay out of the old youth movement that thankfully we're changing today. The next thing I want to talk about, because Forward Montana is very much a state-based and local-based organization, I think that's important for a few reasons. The first one is that if you're going to do long-term mentoring, and build a real long-term leadership pipeline, you need to be on the ground every day working with people where they do their work. And we have a real advantage. We've got we're opening our offices where we have colleges, so we can take interns when they're freshmen in college, and we can start mentoring them. And we've got someone who we've been working with since he was a sophomore in college. He ended up going and becoming an amazing organizer for John Tester in 2006, and now we're running him for city council. That's something that without being on the ground, we wouldn't be able to help talk him through. What does it take to run for elective office? Who are the other political contacts that you need to have in your hometown in order to do that? We can help maneuver them through all of that. We're starting to do more active high school outreach, so when people go to college, there's an organization, because a lot of people in Missoula, where we're based, are going to Bozeman, the other big state school. When they go down to Bozeman, we'll be there too. They'll already know us. They'll be able to get active like that. We'll talk to people in the Bozeman high schools. When they go to Missoula for college, they'll already recognize the organization. They can go straight through. People move from small towns where we're going to start doing organizing in high schools. They move to the bigger cities to take jobs or to go to college. We'll be there as well. They start moving up through a pipeline, and they've got regular contact with the same organization. The branding isn't confusing. That's important. The electoral pipelines are also very important. Federal races are great. You can't recruit a 22-year-old to run for the U.S. House. You can recruit them to run for school board. You can recruit them to run for city council. In my home state, we can run them for state legislature. We've got 9 legislators under the age of 30. That's a little bit insane. We keep worrying whether we can recruit more, whether voters are going to be like, we don't want the entire state house to look like a bar with a bunch of kids hanging out. But it's great. We've got really talented young people moving into the state house, moving into leadership. We've had some of the youngest legislative leaders in the entire country in Montana, session after session after session. We've got more moving up. And you can only do that if you're organizing locally. All that being said, one of the things I do want to talk about, because I think this is useful, is if you want to start a homegrown youth organization in your own state. We started in 2004 as an all-volunteer operation. We were all-volunteer until 2006. And I think we've got some lessons for how to start if you're interested in doing this in your own state or in your own community. The first thing is young people are broke. You already know this. You don't have to read Generation Debt, which is a great book, by the way. You don't have to read Trapped, another great book, by the way. If you don't understand the financial situation of America's young people, go find someone, talk to them, or if you can't find young people, go to the bookstore and buy Generation Debt. It's tough to raise money off of people our age. And so if you can't raise money, getting full-time professional staff is even tougher. So if you're going to start out with no full-time professional staff, how do you do it? And I think the way to do it is to start by convening a board of young political professionals who can draft plans, who can manage and oversee operations, who can help make connections to cultural outlets. And you know, if you've got young legislators, if you've got young city council members, get them on board. They add legitimacy and they add the ability to fundraise because they've got their own lists. If you bring in people who are related into the local music scene, related into local venues, tied into coffee shops, whatever, great meeting spaces, people who are cultural connectors who can connect you with what is cool, that's a very important thing to bring in. And build out a board that can really draft the plans, can oversee non-full-time, non-professional staff to execute the plans. But you've got to have people who can do this and are willing to volunteer to do it because they believe in the movement and they believe in the cause. At that point, if you live in a town with a public university, I guarantee you there are talented activists on that public university campus who are working in fast food restaurants. Go hire them, pay them better, and turn them into people who are moving up that pipeline so that they're getting better experience, they're overseeing canvassing operations, they're managing volunteers, and they're able then to go on and get a better paid job when they get out of college, and they will be eternally grateful to you because you got them out of a fast food job and you're paying them $8 an hour, and it's amazing. And then the only other thing that I would recommend if you're starting an organization from scratch, always ask for money. It's crucial. Do it any way you can think of. Throw drinking liberties or progressive happy hours, as we call them in Montana, and send around a collection plate. When you're out canvassing, folks, if someone is really gung-ho for what you're doing, ask them for $10 on the door. We decided we had to make it easier for young people to give to us, so we started our Rockstar program. You become a monthly member at $5 a month. Young people can afford it. The Pergs had a great system of doing this, voluntary fees on campuses, and they ask everyone to give $3, $5 every semester, and all of a sudden they've got $10,000 checks coming in every few months. Think about ways to get people to give in ways that it doesn't feel like it hurts. Go to local pizza places. Get them to set up a buffet. People pay $10 to get in, and all the food's donated to you. You make a bunch of money. You can do that if you're working with your cultural connectors. And you can eventually establish $40,000, $50,000 budget. You can do some very real work, and you can start building a long-term organization. That's what I've got. I'm happy to talk more about what we're doing in Montana, what some of our sister organizations are doing, and appreciate all of you coming down to listen to us.
Thanks, Matt.